The Arabs are 400 million. The Jews here are 7 million. They don't really need your help. I just want you to know that. They'll work it out with us. We are cousins. We've got the same father. We got the same genes. We got a similar language. We'll work it out. Hey folks, Yishai Fleischer here in beautiful Hebron. Last week, a Spanish TV station, RTVE from Spain, came to interview me and to learn a little bit about Hebron. I don't think that they came with a very open mind. They seem to be very one-sided. And if you check out their YouTube channel, you'll see they have a pretty anti-Israel approach. And I thought it would be instructive to put up how I answer their questions. You won't see the interviewer. She refused to be taped, but I refused to allow them to tape me without me taping them interviewing me, because I think that's one of the tactics. You got to show what they're doing out there in what we call the narrative war. And they are very much part of that narrative war. And we're going to fight back that narrative war and hold strong to our positions of a strong Israel, of a godly Israel, and of our rights to this land, historically, legally, militarily, and otherwise. So check out my interview with RTVE and let me know what you think about some of the questions that were posed and some of my answers. So let's check it out. Good?
Yes.
What's your name, please?
Sara.
Sara. That's a good name. Sarah's buried here.
Yes.
Okay,
Your
Sara.
name? How is it pronounced?
Yishai.
Yishai. Okay.
Yishai.
Okay.
I'm the spokesman of the town. I work here.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to say the question in Spanish and then translate to English.
Sure.
¿Por qué es importante para vosotros vivir aquí en Hebrón? Why is it so important for you to live here in Hebron, to stay here?
Our whole history is bound up with this place. The DNA of our peoplehood is from here. The very name of the city is in our Bible. Our forefathers and mothers are from here. We've lived here for 3,500 years. It's really home to us. We haven't stopped living here. We never will stop living here. Sometimes we're an ethnic majority, other times we're an ethnic minority. And so we love this place. And so our fathers and mothers are buried in this beautiful spot, and it's important to us. And so we'll continue to live here, even though right now we don't have a lot of friends in the periphery. Okay, we'll keep fighting for it.
Los medios internacionales, la administración estadounidense y los palestinos dicen que ha habido un incremento de la violencia en toda esta zona. ¿Cómo se siente en Hebrón? International media, the U.S. administration, and also Palestinians say that there has been a spike of violence here in this area. How is it? Do you feel it in Hebron?
Yeah, there's been a spike of violence. Again, we're ready for it.
Why do you think there has been a spike of violence here?
This is a Hamas city. They believe in destroying Israel and the Jewish people. That's what they say. That's in their charter. It's in the very fabric of their belief system. And so that's part of why they want to fight with us. They've wanted to destroy us for the last 100 years. We had an October 7th in 1929. And so to us, it's not like a big surprise. So the spike of violence is because Hamas now wants to start a war here because they're not successful in their war in Gaza. So they now want to start a war in the north with Hezbollah and Hamas here in Judea and Samaria and Hebron. That's part of our reality.
Según cómo lo ves tú, la culpa de este resurgimiento de la violencia es de los palestinos. ¿Qué hay de los colonos que viven aquí? ¿No crees que pueden estar provocando también este tipo de violencia? So, according to you, the violence that it's surging now, it's the fault of Palestinians.
I said Hamas.
Okay, but you said that this city, it's a
Hamas
controlled city.
Right.
But this city, esta ciudad, this city, it's controlled by the PA, which is...
Yeah, it's a majority Hamas city. The PA is the mechanism of it, but Hamas is the main spirit of it. And there's a lot of Hamas. Everybody knows that. You can ask any Arab. This is a Hamas city. It's just well known. And all the terrorists that have come out recently are part of Hamas's organization. They're Hamas members. And that's part of their jihadist ideology. That's just part of what they believe in. And they've tried, as I told you, they tried to destroy us in 1929 and in many, many attacks since then. But we continue to exist in the city. Thank God we have an army that defends us, and we're willing to defend ourselves. And that's the only way that you can make it in this city, is by defending yourself and being willing to defend yourself. So we feel very organic, holistic, just in our effort to continue to live in the city. We are a tiny minority in the city, an ethnic minority, and so therefore the only way you can survive as an ethnic minority around here is by being ready to push back on the bad guys.
La administración estadounidense, la Unión Europea y otros países han sancionado a colonos, organizaciones e individuos. ¿De dónde crees que surgen estas sanciones? So the US administration, the European Union, and also some other countries have sanctioned settlers for violence.
Yeah.
Where do you think those sanctions come from?
Some countries in Europe still think that they're the colonial powers around here. They're still doing colonialism. They still think that they can be in charge of this region and tell people what to do and to make lines border lines according to what they feel like doing. And they still feel like telling the Jews what to do. And so they've gotten in their mind that they want to close the doors to Jews, again, just like Germany did in 1935. And now they're trying to close doors to Jews living in their ancestral homeland. Okay, there's some elements in the American government. Remember, American governments switch. There's different American governments. There's Biden's America and there's Trump's America. And in Europe, there's different people, right? There's Geert Wilders in Holland, and there's people in France, and people in Poland and in Hungary who don't see it that way. There are a few countries, France and a few others, who think that they could still be white colonialists in our region, and they think they could still play with our lives, and they think that Jews are something that they can control, and they're wrong. And we're going to continue to be here, and it's a shame on them. It's a shame on their record that instead of supporting the indigenous people of this land, which is the Jewish people, from continuing to live here and continuing to recognize what the world recognized already in 1917 and in 1923 at San Remo, in 1920 and then 1923 at the League of Nations, they've forgotten their biblical past. They don't know their history. And of course, they barely know themselves. They barely know their own country. And that's why jihadism is taking over England and Belgium and France. So, they're trying to create a Palestine here. In the meantime, a Palestine is forming in France and in Belgium, and that's going to undermine their history. So what they are trying to do to us is exactly coming onto them.
Yo creo que podemos estar de acuerdo en que hay un conflicto aquí. Acabas de decir que estáis rodeados de enemigos. ¿Cómo resolverías ese conflicto en esta zona? I mean, I think we can agree that there is a conflict in this area. You said that
we don't need to agree to that. That's obvious.
Yes, you are surrounded by enemies. So how would you solve this conflict, which involves Israelis and Palestinians?
First thing is, not everything is for us to solve. Some places in this world live on the sword for hundreds of years, like the Balkans and other places. So sometimes you have to manage a conflict. Not everything is solution-based. And here you are, Spanish TV, coming to talk to me about our conflict. You guys have your own conflicts and your own issues. Have you solved already all the problems of Spain and the Basques and all that? Have you figured it all out? No, you haven't. And there's a lot of problems around the world. We haven't figured it out yet. We think this is our land. We think that non-jihadist, pro-Israel Arabs can live in our land. We think that we have a small piece of land amongst the Arab world. We think we are family with the Arabs. We think that we are their genetic, linguistic, and religious cousins. And so there's really no reasons why we can't live together. We have the Abraham Accords, which shows us that there's an opportunity to move forward in normalization of Israel. But that normalization is not going to come through weakness. It's going to come through strength. When we stand up strong, when we say this is our land, when we push back on jihadists, then there's a future for peace. And there is a future for peace because there are many people, including millions of Arabs, who don't want war with Israel, who want to move ahead with a decent and normal life for all peoples of this region. But the way forward to that is to recognize Jewish rights, indigenous rights, historical rights, religious rights. Remember, the Quran itself mentions that the Jewish people have rights to this land. So when jihadism is subdued and the rights of the Jewish people are recognized, there'll be more peace in this region. But if it doesn't happen tomorrow, that's also okay. We are ready to fight for 1,000 years if we need to hold on to our justice.
Entonces, ¿tú consideras que esos árabes que aceptan la autoridad de Israel y que no están en contra de vosotros podrían tener los mismos derechos que los judíos? So, those Arabs that accept Israel's jurisdiction and that are non-jihadists, they could live with you here with the same rights as Jewish people?
Jewish people have almost no rights in Arab lands. 22 Arab countries, we have no rights there. And this is a protectorate for the Jewish people. So they'll have the same, in my vision, they'll have the same freedoms, but not necessarily the right to change the character of the country, just like we really don't have rights in their countries. This is a protectorate, a small ethnic protectorate in this region. So nobody says about an area that's controlled by American Indians that America has the same jurisdiction. There's different jurisdictions so that we can keep protecting our minority in this region. But there's definitely going to be more decencies and opportunities and rights for Arabs in Israel than they have in their own countries. More opportunities, more medicine, more technology, more upward mobility, more welfare. But that's if they want to choose it, if they want to choose to live in a Jewish state. If not, they've got 22 Arab countries to choose from, and also, Chile and Australia and Canada and a million other places that are willing to take refugees. But the bottom line is, non-jihadist, pro-Israel Arabs can live here and thrive. Remember, this is a tiny area, a small protectorate. There's only one Jewish state. One Jewish state, 22 Arab countries, 56 Muslim countries, one tiny little state meant to defend our people. That's what it's meant to do. It's not meant to give everybody equalities. It's not meant to do that. It's meant to protect our peoplehood. And those minorities that want to live with us, we welcome them as long as they are nonviolent and respect the fact that this is a Jewish state.
¿Eso significa que los palestinos que se quedaran aquí no tendrían derecho a voto en el Estado de Israel? Does this mean that Palestinians, Arabs who would stay here accepting Israel's jurisdiction wouldn't have voting rights in the Israeli state?
It might mean that. It might not mean that. This is far away from the reality that we're discussing today. Today we're at war. And we're not talking about which rights they have and which rights they don't have. The bottom line is that we have a war on the north of Israel with Hezbollah. We have in the south of Israel with Hamas. We have a war with Iran. We have a war on American campuses. So I don't think this is the time exactly to talk about who gets which rights. Right now, we're just trying to defend ourselves. There's terrorism in this city and around us. I'm not going to, take too much time to worry right now. If you want, I've written articles about this, about proposed ideas for the future. But that's not important right now. Right now is that we got to survive, push back on the bad guys, and give a decent life to the Jewish people and to the non-Jewish people, the Arabs and others who want to live a decent life. When we can move forward with that security and move forward with things like the Abraham Accords, which means that Israel is recognized as having its rights and sovereignty and jurisdiction, like you say, by the UAE, maybe in the future by Saudi Arabia. When they recognize that the jihad is useless and that it's time to move forward, then we could talk about the rights of minorities in our land. Till then, right now, we got to worry about securing the Jewish state and defending it from people who want to kill us.
Pero no has respondido a mi pregunta. ¿Tú crees que podrían tener derechos de voto los árabes que se queden aquí? ¿En tu opinión, te gustaría que los tuvieran o prefieres que no? I'm insisting on this question because you haven't answered it.
I did answer it. I answered that it's not the time to answer it.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
In your opinion?
I'm speaking about my opinion.
Would you like them to have voting rights, equal rights, or not?
As I said to you, this region has no equality for Jews, and it's a place to defend the Jewish people. We cannot allow people who are jihadists and anti-Israel to overrun Israel. So Israel is like a Poland, okay, like a Hungary. We have a national peoples, the Jews, just like the Hungarians, just like the Poles, and just like many other countries. And so this country is created to defend our peoplehood, which is a persecuted peoplehood throughout history. Our job is not to be the only country that has created voting rights for Arabs. You do know that Arabs have no voting rights. You should be asking which Arab country could give Arabs voting rights, and the answer is zero. So before we talk about Jews giving the Arabs voting rights, let's talk about Arabs giving voting rights. So, and on top of that, as I told you, we're in a time of war. It's not the time to talk about who's going to get which voting rights down the line. Right now, we're just trying to secure ourselves. We really have people that have a Nazi ideology. Until I can root out the Nazis, don't ask me if I can make sure that the Nazis have voting rights. There's Nazism today, which is today in jihadism fused with progressivism. And there's that red-green alliance. We're in a dangerous time. So it's not the time. I appreciate that you've come from Spain to talk about these things, but at the end, it's not the time right now. Right now, we've got to focus on defense and making sure that our children are safe. And then, with the help of God, inshallah, in the future, we'll sort out who gets which rights. But of course, no matter what, nobody's going to get voting rights or any kind of rights if they're here to kill us. Those people do not, they have forfeited their rights in this land. If they want to go somewhere else, that's their business. But in this land, you cannot have a neo-Nazi type of ideology that wants to destroy the Jewish people. The future is bright, but first we have to get rid of jihadism.
La última pregunta. One last question.
Sure. Yeah.
¿Consideras que los palestinos que viven en Gaza y en Cisjordania deberían marcharse a otros países de mayoría árabe? So, do you think it's better if Palestinians who live in the West Bank and Gaza go to Arab majority countries and leave this place?
Haters can't stay here. Lovers are welcome to. That's very simple. You cannot have citizens you can't have residents or citizens in your country that are planning to destroy you. So this is a very broad question. If Arabs want to stay here and find an opportunity for future life here, they could do it as long as they respect the country for what it is. People who hate Israel should find another place. If they want to make war, we know how to make war. And if they want to go away somewhere else, they should go somewhere else. But people who live here have to accept that this is the Jewish state. Again, one tiny Jewish state in the Arab region. It's really simple. This is a protectorate, like an Indian reservation. It's a place for our language. You also in Spain have place for a different language, right? And so we have an area for our language, for our peoplehood.
But everyone has the same rights in Spain, even if we have special regions for different languages.
In the United States, there's an area called Puerto Rico. It's an island. It's got 2 million people. Puerto Ricans do not vote for American president. Why? Because it's a territory. So even in the great democracy of the United States, there are sometimes things that can be adjusted. The Arab world itself has no voting rights. So this issue that you're talking about is foreign to this region. It's a little bit of like white colonialist talk. It's like you're going to come here and tell me about voting rights. No Arabs in their world have voting rights. So that's not the way they run their systems. They run it differently. So therefore, the conversation is moot. It's not useful. What's useful is that we will provide opportunities and decencies and take responsibility for the minorities that live here. They will have roads and jobs and respect and blessing if they respect and bless the state that they live in. If they are trying to create a different state called Palestine in our land, it means that they want to undermine Israel. And therefore, they're the enemies of Israel. And therefore, I'm not going to talk about giving voting rights to the enemies of Israel. And again, I tell you, we're in a time of war right now. It's just not the time to talk about exactly how we're going to parse it all out. When we come to a more stable time, when we can get rid of the jihadism that has taken root here, that has metastasized in our land, if we can get rid of that, then we'll start talking about the decent people, how we can govern them and give them opportunity. Remember that non-jihadist Arab-type peoples, like the Druze, have rights and are leaders in the army and have beautiful land and live with us in peace. Why? Because they don't run the software of jihad. Even though their hardware may be Arab or Arab-related, they have a different attitude. And so there are people with different attitude that want to respect us, like the Abraham Accords. There will be a blessing for that. But people who want to destroy us will find no blessing. They will find themselves at war with us, and we will defeat them because this is our land, and we are absolutely ready to do everything to hold on to it.
Creo que le voy a hacer la última pregunta y ya. ¿No?
Okay.
Ya hemos terminado. Luego la última.
One last question, okay?
One last one. Last one, okay.
Vale. Hemos hablado con muchos palestinos que son activistas pacifistas y que han sido detenidos, acosados por colonos y por el ejército israelí y no son yihadistas. ¿Qué opinas sobre esto? We've spoken with some Palestinian activists that are non-violent and they have been beaten and detained by settlers and also by Israeli soldiers. Why do you think is that? Because they're not jihadists, nor violent.
I don't know what really happened there, and you know your story may be true or it may be just another part of lies. You know, in war people lie, and they tell you that they're pacifists, but they're actually the front of the jihad. You know, the jihad has many faces. Sometimes it talks about rights and equalities and we're non-violent. And then in Arabic, they say, we will destroy Israel. So in this region, you have to be you have to open your eyes and see that the jihad has many faces. It's like two sides of the same coin. One side is violent and the other one is, speaks to the European type language that you're speaking of, pacifist and non-violent. And that's to win over those elements. And that alliance of the European progressives and the jihadists is destroying the world and is destroying Europe as well. Europe is in a lot of trouble, from what I understand from here. Not that it's my problem; that's your problem. But what I understand is that there's a lot of problems there. I've been to Holland and I've been to France and I've been to England and I've seen the situation there, and it's indeed very dangerous. So you could keep falling for the lies that they tell you, oh, we just want equalities and we just want rights and we're pacifists and all that kind of stuff. But then they slowly take over your country. And I think that it's time to open up the eyes and to see what's really happening in this world and to understand that the jihad is smart and it uses all kinds of tools at its disposal. I want to take a moment just to also mention that your name is Sarah. Right? That's a great name. The first Sarah in Jewish history, in biblical history, is buried right here. And I think that coming here for a person like yourself is an opportunity to connect with the history of mankind, with the heritage of mankind. We protect it. We keep it open to all peoples. When it's under jihad, no peoples can visit it except for theirs. When we are in control of it, it opens up. And it's an opportunity for you to connect to something really deep and wholesome. We, the Jewish people and the Arabs, will work it out without European interference. The Arabs are 400 million. The Jews here are 7 million. They don't really need your help. I just want you to know that. They'll work it out with us. We are cousins. We've got the same father. We've got the same genes. We've got a similar language. We'll work it out. You'll see. We'll be okay. You guys go ahead now and go deal with your problems. Maybe I should send an Israeli film crew to talk about the problems in Spain. No, because I let you deal with your problems, and we're going to be okay here. The Arabs are going to be okay, I promise you. They're going to be all right. They're strong, they're smart, they're our cousins. They're going to work it out with the tiny Jewish state in their midst. And inshallah, with the help of God, B'ezrat Hashem, as we say, everything is going to be fine. And Israel will get through this tough time. We'll continue to survive and thrive. This is our homeland. We lived here, we are living here, and we're going to live here. And nobody's going to kick us out of here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed my interview there with RTVE. There's some funny moments there. I think the funniest moment for me is when I say to them, like, hey, maybe Israel should send a crew out to Spain. Check out what you guys are doing. I mean, you're judging us. Let's just, make sure that you guys are okay and doing the right thing. There's such an attitude of haughtiness out there. We're going to fight that. We're going to fight that with truth. We're also going to fight that with humor. We're going to fight that with our narrative, the true narrative of the Jewish people back in the land of Israel, and a way forward towards normalization and peace without jihadism. Let me know what you think. Write me comments in the section. Write me at yishai@yishaifleischer.com, and please subscribe. God bless you wherever you are, and shalom.